Hi there, Randy Wolgemuth here. Today I have a guest with me here, Carla and Ferguson. Carla and I have worked together for a number of years. Most of the coaching I do is with either business owners or management. I don't typically deal or coach employees. However, they're a very important part of the organization. So I have had Carla actually coach some employees of my clients. And so I just asked her to come on here today, and I've got a few questions for her. And first off is, what's the benefit for the organization to invest in coaching for an employee compared to what I do with the leadership teams in an organization?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Thanks for asking that. It's interesting because when you're investing in your employees, you are also reducing likely turnover, which would mean also training time. So if you can invest in coaching an employee or people on the staff, that they can then do their job better, they're more likely to stay. When they also feel like they're invested in, they're more willing to stay, do the hard work, grow. And if they're willing to do that, they're less likely to leave. When you have less turnover, that helps your bottom line, because you know that every time you lose an employee, now you have downtime, you have to train a new employee, and you don't have a guarantee that the person that you're going to bring on is going to be any better. So why not take what you have and invest in that person and save the time and get a quality person that you already have on board?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, then another question I have here, does coaching always work?
Well, that's an interesting question. Yes, but it depends what your outcome is. So if you're asking, does coaching always make the other person be the kind of person I want them to be? No, it does not. Coaching is really dependent on the person being coached. However, having said that, if I'm working with a client and they decide that they don't want to grow, they don't want to change, what does that tell the organization? When I report back to the organization, I am able to say, like, actually, this coaching session did work. It told us that this person is not a good fit for your company. So it might be time to, encourage them to find employment elsewhere. Does it work? Doesn't always mean, does it turn out the way I want? But when coaching reveals areas of weakness within the organization, or maybe the person that we're coaching would be a perfect fit for a different part of the organization, that's already a benefit. So it may not work out the way you may have dreamed or envisioned at the very beginning, but does it always work? Yes, because coaching reveals what's possible and it increases the ability to expand potential and then maximize potential.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Sue. Another question I have here, why is coaching for employees better in the cultures we find ourselves now as opposed to traditional methods?
So let's first talk about what traditional methods are. I think in the past, we just made the assumption that when people apply for work and they get hired, that they want to be there, they plan to be there for a long time, and they're going to work hard for the company, and they have the same values that the management team does. That's not the case anymore. So what would happen is we would tell them, this is what we want you to do. And if you're not going to do it, then you're out of here. Or we put people on probation. You do the job. And if you don't do the job, then clearly you're not cut out for this. When in fact, I think in the day that we live in now, the cultures that we're in, the people that we're hiring don't even know what the expectations are. You may give them a list, a task, a job description, but they don't necessarily even have the tools to manage or even know if they can accomplish those tasks. They likely can. They have the potential, but the people that are applying for jobs now come from a different schooling, different education. Their work environments were much more multicultural than we were even 20, 30, 50 years ago. So we're looking at all kinds of dynamics. So if we have a person in the workplace who may come across as toxic or not cut out, maybe we might even say to ourselves, they don't want to be here. They don't know how to work. Maybe what they need is a coaching session to see, is it personality? Is it culture? What are their capabilities? What can they do? What is their potential? And how do we work together between the staff and the organization to make this a profitable and like beneficial for both sides? And that we didn't have many years ago.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Very good. Okay, I got a couple other questions here I want to just cover up. So obviously when you're coaching these employees, their bosses, managers are obviously not involved. How do you manage the confidentiality, or how does that kind of work? You can find out what the manager maybe needs to know, or the owner. However, you need to keep some things private. How do you work with that?
Yeah, confidential is super important. It really hampers me if the client that I'm coaching, if they think that I'm just going to run and tell their boss everything they say, I'm not going to get very far. So we have to, and besides, I am part of the International Coaching Federation, so I am bound by confidentiality rules and laws. So the space with my clients are very confidential. My records are confidential, and how I communicate with the organization who's hired me. If there's a situation within the coaching session that I believe actually might be a systemic issue where I need to go back and talk to the organization, or there's continued harm happening, then I get permission from the client to say, these are the things I'd like to talk to your supervisor or your manager or the organization about. Do I have your permission? And sometimes they'll say yes, but wait until then. Or maybe they'll say yes, but don't say who the people are. So they give me parameters back, because it's true that there are situations where it's not all the employee's situation. It's not their fault necessarily. There might be structures and systems that are unhealthy within the organization. And that feedback does need to go back to the organization. You can't fix a toxic environment by fixing one person. So if the environment is unhealthy in general, we actually have to look at the whole picture. So at that point, I keep the confidentiality, but I ask for permission. If the client says to me, no, I actually don't want you talking to them about this at all, then I go back and then I begin to coach the organization by asking certain questions. What are these sort of situations going on? How are these types of things handled in your company or in your hierarchy? Where's the authority levels? And then I ask questions where they can begin to think through their processes and their structures and systems, without knowing what I already know from the other side. So then it's questioning up or coaching up on the other side.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, that's very awesome. You know, and I know you've coached a number of my clients' employees, and yes, it's always been a good outcome. Although a few of them needed to transition to another place, but that's part of the process, which is very good. So yeah, before we sign off, maybe just tell the people your company name and any other services that you have or coaching products that you have that you want to share with them.
Sure, absolutely. My company name is called Refinery Transformation Solutions. And my email is very simple, carlaann@refinerytransformation.com. And I do offer one-on-one coaching, personal coaching. I specialize and I'm an expert in Enneagram coaching. And I can do that for teams, workplaces. I also do seminars. So if there's an organization that needs to have like continuing education units or upgrading or administration days, personal development days, I can come in and do seminars. And I also do coach on teams or departments, depending on what's needed. But I also do couples and relationships. So I work in a sort of a vast grouping of people, but I love working with teams.
Yeah, talking about Enneagram, I know my wife and I, Lydia and I, we had one session with you. Very interesting. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me here today, Carla. It's been very interesting, and hopefully a few people will hear what we have to say and help them in their business.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Take care.